Hello, comrades. So, I already made this video. This will be my 5th time making this video, so I hope it will be good. Because I found out that, first off, I can't really record lengthy conversation while running around farming, which was my first try. Apparently, I do not have the brain power to do those two things at once. The other times I recorded it, I apparently had no sound due to Windows messing with me. So, 5th time the charm, I guess. Earlier today, I had a discussion in our Discord about crafting and what crafting professions to get into to be able to earn coin. And that kind of got me thinking about the economy in general and what I think is going to happen with the economy over the next 1 or 2 months, right? Up to towards the new year. And I thought I would take the opportunity and talk a bit just like freeform today. So apparently, since I can't really do anything in game while also talking, I'm just gonna stand here. So feel free to minimize this and listen to me rant for like 10 minutes, right? So the economy, there are a few things that I think is gonna happen. And I can't say that I'm 100% sure. But I can say that I'm fairly confident because we already have evidence of this happening, and I also seen it happen in other games that have a similar player-driven economy, right? So what I think is going to happen is that in short, like if you want the too long didn't read version, prices of everything is going to go down, 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 except for best in slot items. So that is all I can say in the too long didn't read version, but that is basically the consensus of this video. So why is that? If we look at something like weaponsmithing when the game came out, what happened with weaponsmithing was that weapons dropped for everybody. You were out, you were leveling, you were questing, and people were getting weapons. The problem was that you were not only getting the weapons you needed, you got the weapons for like 20-30 players each. So one player puts up 30 weapons on the market. And that means it's so much more supply than there is a demand for new weapons, right? So what happened with weapons while people were leveling is that they just stopped having a value. They were down to 2-3 coins each. Like people posted them for less coin than it cost to put them up on the auction. That's how cheap weapons were. But then people leveled up and people hit 60. And now we got into a new position because when you hit 60, you had a watermark, and your watermark must gear score 500. But a good weaponsmith could craft higher weapons. So maybe not immediately because we didn't have the buffs we needed, but after a very short time, people were making 560, 570 weapons for people, right? So suddenly weapons had a purpose again. Weapons were in value because you could craft them. But the point we're getting to now is that people's watermark are approaching the same level as you can craft items. And I can say this as just a sort of a blanket statement, but most weapons in the game, if you want to make them between the 595 to 600 region, first off you need like several tens of thousands in buffs that you need on your character in order to be able to reach that skill first, right? But secondly, the materials to craft those items are Asmodium, Phoenix Weave, Glittering Ebony, and all of those are fairly expensive. So the cost of making a 595 to 600 weapon now is roughly 4k. And then let's say I make 10 of those, right? Some of those are going to be worthless. Firestaff with strength or something like that, right? So now I need to sell maybe 8 weapons that costed 40k to make, because I also have to carry on the cost of those weapons I had to scrap, right? So now maybe I need to sell those weapons for an average of 5k each in order to get my money back. The problem is that people are going to Murkard and doing watermark farming. And while I'm sitting here as a crafter, crafting weapons that cost me 4 or 5k to make, people are going to Murkard, and maybe not yet, but pretty soon people are going to reach that 600 watermark in mass. And sure, maybe you only get a legendary every 2 days, right? But if you get a legendary every 2 days, and there are 2,000 people doing that every day, that means it's going to generate 1,000 legendaries for free for the server every day. And some of those are going to be crap, and basically you just scrap them because they are that Firestaff with strength. But the difference is that those do not have a cost. So while I'm trying to sell my fire staff for 5k that I crafted, you simply sell your that you found for free for less than me. So now I can't compete. That means that I stop crafting, which means that the farmers are having trouble selling their items. So Asmodeum and all those items go down in price, and now I can make my fire staff for the same price you are selling your Myrkard fire staff for, right? But that means that you just lower your Myrkard fire staff, and that will keep happening until we are pushing those the farming prices and everything really, really low. So I think that the cost of materials and the cost of bonus items, trophies and everything, the supply will simply be too large, right? And the other thing that's gonna happen for people is that currently when you make 10 fire staffs, you're gonna get 2 that you scrap because they are bad, but then you're gonna get maybe 8 that are okay. Someone will use this. It's a decent fire staff. It has okay stats. It's nothing like super, but it's usable, right? It's still 595 and has intellect on it, let's say. But once people have bought that fire staff, what they are after is the best in slot fire staffs. So those decent fire staffs are simply not going to sell anymore because people already have those and they want to upgrade. So now it's only the best in slot type of items, the really, really creme de la crop, some as will be for sale. And that means that those items are going to be more wanted. And here comes the second proof or concept of this theory, right? So if you go out today and you farm 1,000 iron ore and you sell that to me for 1,000 coins, the server has not lost or generated any money. Money simply switched hands, but the server has the same amount of money than it did before we had our transaction, right? But the server generates money in a couple of ways. So you have quests and you kill mobs and stuff, and then you have repair bills that will remove money from the system, and towns have upkeep costs and stuff like that, right? So some money is generated, some money is removed. But if we look at the market is still going to have a fixed amount of coin, but nobody's going to want to pay as much money for crafting materials and bad weapons, in quotation mark, like bad or okay weapons, right? But all that money that is currently up in this category of items on the market, that money won't simply disappear. It will simply move somewhere. And where I think that will move is it will move towards the best in slot items. So currently the difference between a good weapon is maybe like 5-6k, and the best in slot weapon, or maybe not best in slot, but a really, really good one, is 25-30k, right? I think in 2 months' time, the difference there is going to be an okay weapon is worth maybe 2k, and the best in slot weapon is worth 100k. So I think that is simply how it's going to push the market. Most of the things will become less valuable, and some things will become more valuable. So with this said, how can you make this into an opportunity? So first off, I would say that good items that you can play or buy today, those are going to be like an okay item. You are better off buying tomorrow than you are today, because that item is going to go down in price. But if you have the coin and you find the best in slot item and you know that this is something that you will never replace, I think buying it now is going to be cheaper than buying it tomorrow or at a later time, right? I also think that there is an opportunity with Watermark, because as I said, most of the server is not generating those legendaries. And there is going to be a sort of a transition period where you can farm legendary items with your Watermark, and you can sell those on the market. And people are still going to expect to pay a certain amount of coin. So when the crafters are putting up their items for 6-7k, you can also put up your Watermark drops for 6-7k. And the bonus is it never costed you anything to make, right? So you can earn a fair amount of coin that way. And that's basically it. I don't really see any way around this. And that also kind of means that crafting professions are sort of on a decline. It has an expiration date. It has a set death date, you could say, where crafting is not going to be valuable anymore to a certain extent. To a certain extent, it's also going to end up with, like, if the prices for Asmodean and everything just plummets, and if it ends up on 10 coins each, right, then the crafters will simply keep crafting because now they can make it cheap enough. So there is going to be some sort of equilibrium, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to where we are today. I also think there is one exception, and that is Yule crafting, because there are two things. So first off, Yules or Yulry do not have a watermark system in the same way as everything else does, right? I guess if you grind expeditions, you might be able to increase your watermark with Yulry, but I have no idea how that would work or if it would take you 100 years. But the second one is that you don't have damage or armor rating attached to Yulry. So a 550 Yule or a necklace will be worse than a 600. That's obvious, right? But for a weapon, most of your damage scales on your weapon rating or your weapon damage, right? So you want a really high-end weapon. When it comes to armor, your armor rating also scales with a gear score. So you want a really high gear score armor too. But those two both do not exist on Yulry. So on your necklace, maybe if you have a 550 instead of a 600, you're going to have 10.2% crit instead of 11% crit. So it's going to be worse, but not enough. And that is why I think that Yulry are still going to keep some value. Yulry also use Asmodeum or metals. So I think that Asmodeum is going to keep its price better than all the other equivalent materials for that simple reason. Unless they make some sort of exchange, like they could patch in maybe that you can change your Phoenix leather for Asmodeum at a vendor or something, right? Maybe that will be a thing. But it's not at the moment, so I wouldn't really count on that. Anyway, I've been rambling long enough. The AFK timer suggested that I should probably move about a bit, so I guess that's a good suggestion. If you found this rambling freeform video helpful, please let me know. If you have any suggestions or something that you wish me to look into or talk about, also let me know. It's always nice to get some feedback on what I could do different or simply something that you would like me to explore more, right? Otherwise, have a great night, y'all.